Hey everybody, welcome to Rana's Radar, another episode here on the Classic Cars podcast show. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. Today I'm joined with Tod and Michelle. How's it going, you two?
Doing good. How are you?
Hello.
I'm
Thanks
good,
for
thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you so much for joining me and coming on as my guest. I'm so excited to have you guys. Todd, we're going to be talking about the amazing F100 that you have restored. It's all over Instagram. I love seeing the
Yes.
videos, love seeing it all on Facebook. That's how I been able to track you down. So we're going to get into the rebuild of that in a moment. But before that, what we're going to see on that truck is information about your garage. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
I restore and repair and help keep maintenance on vintage vehicles. That's all I do now. Used to be it was every kind of vehicle, but now I have specialized myself into only vintage. It'll be from 80s on back, you know what I mean, all the way down to whatever the 20s, 30s, whatever. And it's always been my passion and my dream to do that, but I've always had to work on everybody else's, new stuff, and it got so expensive. It's hard for me to keep up with it.
Yep, yep. And I'm so excited that you moved to the classics. So you were mechanic or you were just rebuilding
Mechanic.
the models?
I
Mechanic.
was a mechanic all my life. Yeah, pretty much. I had a couple of fast food jobs and some couple of factory jobs, but then after that, I went straight into mechanical. I've been doing it since I was about 11 years old. I think my dad taught me how to weld and handed me some wrenches and said, "Go down underneath the car and hold these bolts while I turn the other end." You know what I mean? And he taught me like that, and he yelled a little bit. You know what I mean? And sometimes lost his patience, but I mean, he taught me, and it stuck with me. And then
If he
as I got
didn't
older,
yell him, it might not have stuck with you.
that's right. And then as I got older,
Michelle's shaking her head. Yeah.
I think he instilled like, of course it was already in there, I'm sure, but he instilled like, if you're going to do something, do it. Don't just halfway do it, and don't be, if you want something, go for it. Don't just don't do one thing and then do something else and then do something else. If you want to do this, just pursue it. And so we grew up poor, and I couldn't really afford to go to trade school until I got into high school, and I was able to, get into the auto mechanics class. But by that time, I was already working on them at home and welding and working other places just to get by.
Yep.
But like I said, since 11 or 12 years old, he taught me how to weld, and it's still with me today. Of course, I mean that's how I make my career now,
Well, I
welding,
mean,
fabricating.
it's such an underrated skill, and I meet so many people who do restore their own cars, and I'm like, okay, so do you do this? No, it's just a hobby. Is this what your day job is? No, it's just a hobby. And I always ask them, and you might see me on the videos, everybody. And I'm like, how do you know how to do this? Because for me, it's almost the same as touching the moon. Yet, so many of you out there, you restore these cars, these classics, and you do an
Yes.
amazing job just by word of mouth, being taught by dad, grandpa, uncle, or a friend. And
Yep.
it's such a valuable skill. And even if you didn't go to university or college, a skill like
That's
that,
right.
being taught that way, it's so valuable.
Right. And
Yeah.
I've I my dad said that I took it way further than he ever did. Like he knew how to, lefty loosey, righty tighty, turn the wrenches. He knew how to weld, and he could work on the old stuff. But when I took it up as my passion and to do it as a living, he's like, you took the welding and the mechanic work way further than he ever. See, my dad never graduated high school, and he always undersold himself, but he could rebuild a lawnmower or an engine on a car and never could read a book. He couldn't read or write,
Yeah.
but he knew how to do it. It was in his body. It was just part of his DNA. And I'm sure it's in mine too. I mean, it's
Well, it
so
is
he,
because you've done so well as well with it. I mean, Michelle, how do you feel with Todd's passion and the work that he does? And I mean, how involved? Okay, the real question for you is how often is he stuck inside the garage as opposed to being inside the house?
You know what I love is that Todd has been able to pursue his passion, and that's his career. And that's such a unique gift. Not too many people get to absolutely love what they do every day, all day long. And he doesn't just do it for a living. He lives and breathes it. So it's during the
That's
day
why
he's
he's a
in,
happy guy.
you're
yes.
right. You're
Yeah,
exactly right.
during the day he's in the garage, and then nights and weekends we're at car shows, just looking at the vintage stuff, and he gets ideas and he meets people, and it's how he drums up business. So
And
I'm just so glad he gets to pursue his passion.
I've never met a stranger. Like we go somewhere and she's like, "Oh my God, we talked to 400 people today. How do you do that?" And I'm like, "I've never met a stranger. I love talking to people about this stuff." You know what I mean?
Yep.
And she's like, "I can't believe that you don't like never get tired of it." And I said, "No, I don't." And she
Yep.
loves sewing and she loves flower beds. I said, "You don't get tired of
Yes.
those." I mean, yeah, that's her hobby.
That's
So
your passion.
it is.
Yeah,
It is.
you don't get tired of your passion, and
That's
he's
right.
definitely passionate about it.
No, well, the
Yeah.
car world is a very small world. I've only been in it for 7 months in the American car world. I've always loved cars, but being out here with the car shows and meeting folks like you guys, it's a very small world. I'm always
It
bumping
is.
into the same people now.
Yeah,
And
it
you've
is
been
a
doing it
small
for so
world.
many years.
You think that it's big when you look at it on TV and you see all these big car shows, but it's really not. It's really not.
No,
It's not near as big as the corporate world. I mean, it's
no way. No way. But and coming back to doing your hobby, your passion, and that's why you're smiling. And even Michelle, you're doing your passion, working with your hands. It's many people don't know this, but my background is actually as a psychologist, clinical psychologist back home. That's what I studied, and that's what I was hoping to sit down and do. But I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. So even though I did 6 years of studies, I said no. I told my husband, I said, this is not what I want to do. This is not what's going to make me happy. I don't want to die doing this. So then he said,
right.
well, what do you want to do? And that's when I started discovering that this is exactly what makes me happy. Going around to the car shows, going around to the car events, checking out especially these classics, and then the way they just get rebirthed into
They do.
looking absolutely spectacular. So passion is very important.
Yes, it
And
is.
these car shows need to continue because with today's generation, the kids need to have something like this. Teenagers need to have
Yep.
something where they can really enjoy and find their own inner passion. And I mean, the car world is amazing, and we need to get them involved. So
Oh my
one of
gosh,
the
Ron.
sorry,
You
Michelle.
you've got to hear the story about the birthday cake. Tell her about the little boy and his birthday cake.
Did you see the post that I made about my truck?
Which
There was a
one?
12 or 13-year-old boy. Um, he saw my truck at Beatersville in Louisville this year
Okay.
in May. Him and his
Mom.
mom walked up on it, and his mouth dropped, and he walked over there just smiling ear to ear. And he's like, "Mom, I love this truck." He said, "I've seen hundreds today, and this is my favorite vehicle here." So then everybody's always so touchy about their vehicles, and I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you walked up and you start beating on it, then we're going to fight. But I'm talking about if kids want to sit down in my vehicles, I let them lean on the hood or sit down on the fender or sit inside. So I asked him, I said, "Do you want a picture in the truck?" I said, "We shut the door and you act like you're driving." He's like, "Really?" I said, "Yes, really." So he's sitting down there and act like he was driving. His mom got some pictures of him standing in front of it posing. Well, he was turning, I think he was 12, and he just turned 13 this week. Um, He'd been talking about it ever since he saw my truck and met me. He's like, "I want a birthday cake that looks like Todd's truck. That's my favorite."
See,
And
there you go.
so she had him one made, and I mean they did an excellent job making the cake look like my truck. I said, so she posted a big post about it, thanking me for letting him sit in it and telling about how much he loved my truck. That makes my heart, that's joy right there, to know that and that little boy said his dream is he wants to buy a truck like mine and build one. And I'm like, ain't that the truth? I mean, that right
There
there,
you
you
go.
can't get no better than that.
There you go. And I love the fact that the boy was out there with his mom looking at a classic truck. Not inside playing video games behind the
Right.
computer, but he was out there. And by seeing that, he gets inspired.
That's right.
And I say this so many times on my videos when I'm out there interviewing people as well, is we need to keep this going. As someone, I guess,
Yeah,
as someone who is not American, who has come here from outside, I've come here from Australia, and I can see the car events, the car shows, and I believe I've got a bit of a different view. So I'm just looking at it as a whole, and that's just me as I am. My personality is like that. Like I look at it as a whole, and as I'm looking and thinking, and a few months ago, it really dawned on me that this needs to continue.
It
And
does.
and in particular, when I was at Shades of the Past, everybody, there's a big segment on Shades of the Past. I was
Right.
there earlier, about a couple of months ago,
Yep.
and great coverage, a lot of interviews. Do check it out. But Shades of the Past was the last year this year.
That was this was the last year, and it's sad too because I went to it a lot. It's a nice show. It
Yep.
was. I mean,
And a
but I
lot of
guess
people were disappointed. A lot of people were sad. So, but we'll give a little bit of information later on Shades of the Past. So don't go
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah,
But and everybody was disappointed. And I thought to myself, this has been going on for so many decades, and now it's finishing. And not only that, there was another show which was the Try Five Roundup series, which happens in Pigeon Forge, and they too shut down. And similar reasons, people were retiring, they could not continue it on, which is fair
right.
enough. I mean,
It's fair enough.
thank you to them for doing it for so long, but these shows need to continue. And how do they continue? Well, Todd, with ideas like yours, this is how we can keep the culture going on, because you have got something starting up as well. Tell us about that.
Shop Truck Gathering is what we call it, and I have the Facebook page, I have Instagram, and I have TikTok. It's all the information will be on there, and anything anybody wants to know. But the 1998 and older trucks of any kind, any model, any size, it doesn't matter if they're small, large, medium, it doesn't matter. They can be stock, original. They can be modified. It could even be semi trucks, like what you pull, out on the highway, whatever.
Yep.
And we had the first one was July the 30th this year, and we had 200 trucks, or 209, and there was almost 300 spectators that walked in and paid to see the trucks. And people were walking up to me so much and talking to me and asking me questions and wanting to meet me that I didn't even get to walk around and see all the vehicles, all the trucks that were at my show. So I had our daughter-in-law, we had her to go around. She's a photographer, so she went around and took, all the pictures of every truck there, and then she put them in a gallery, and I sent them to you. And
Yep.
so that was the only way I got to see all the trucks. But when the show was over with, we not over with, but it was almost over with. About an hour before it was over with, I asked everybody, "Do you all want to? Do anybody want to go on a cruise? With all our trucks." So about 40 trucks of the 200 lined up behind me, and we all went through Mammoth Cave National Park, which is beautiful, national park, and it's a beautiful ride. So we
So,
drove
so
through there.
where was the event? Where did the
It was
event start?
it was Cave City, Kentucky, at the Cave City Convention Center.
Okay.
Yep, and that I picked that because it was a central location, and it's right off of I-65. It's exit 53, I think it is, off of 65, and you can see my event from I-65, and vice versa. So it's that close. So if you can get to I-65, you can make it to Shop Truck Gathering. I had people from Illinois, Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky. Wasn't that
Indiana.
yeah, Indiana? I mean, there was several states there, it surprised me. Of course, I advertised for 7 months, and you see my truck around on all the Instagram and Facebook, but
Yeah.
I put my flyers out the same way. Like I kept taking the flyers and handing them out,
Well,
and
I've got a picture of your flyer, so let's put that up as well while I get some more pictures up here. And I've also got your Instagram, so we'll be able to share that and show that, so everyone can have a look at exactly what Shop Truck Gathering is.
that's right. And I did everything I possibly could do. Like I made license plates. Um,
Yep.
Yes.
There, I made license plates. I had stickers made that to pass out. I'd go to the shows and pass out license plates and stickers just to get people involved. And
Well, you
she's
did
like,
very well. And I think the fact that it was in the exposition center as well, so it had an indoor area.
well, the indoor was we had arts and crafts on the indoors for the ladies, and then we had swap meet and trucks on the outside of the event. So I mean, we had
So,
both.
Michelle, I'm guessing you had some part in that.
Yeah, I love to sew. I don't really do it for a living. You talked a little bit about using your hands earlier. For me, it's a stress reliever. You cannot
Yeah.
stress while you're creating, and so I love to sew, and I think it's related to Todd's creation of his vehicles. It's just very relaxing and rewarding. You get something at the end that you're so proud of.
And
Wow.
and people ask me all the time, "Are you ever going to build? You ever going to build one to keep?" And I said, as long as other people are interested in what I'm building, I'm willing to sell all of them, and I'll just build me another one because I have the opportunity and the know-how to build one from scratch.
Yeah.
But if a person comes up to me and they have a passion that wants one, but they don't know how to do what I do, all they've got to do is just collect up the money and they can come and buy one. I mean, I'll build them one or I'll sell them what I got. Um, but I had those banners made, as you're seeing there. Those little photos from up above, we tried to get some what do you call
Drum.
it, drone footage, but it was really hard to do. You've got to have a really nice drone to get that overhead
Oh
footage.
yes. I'm quite familiar with that. I've got to get my drone fixed. So I do like using it, but yes, let's not get
Very
into the drone world. But you know
well,
what
I
I love
bought
about it, Todd? You did so well. This was the first G for Shop
the
Truck
first one.
Gathering, and you had such a great success. I mean, that was amazing with so many
It, it,
people.
it was the smile on my face. I put down on the flyer from 9 to 3, and because I thought we were going to have time to clean up in the afternoon, so I didn't put it, very late.
Yeah,
And um, at 7:30, there was guys just like me pulling in the gates, and then they started backing up out in the main road, waiting
yeah.
in line to get in to register and then get their trucks in there. And she looked over toward the gate because she was at the registration desk. She looked over toward the gate and she's like, and shook her head. And I said, "It's happening. It's really going to happen."
You
And
guys must
my,
have been absolutely static.
oh my gosh,
We
we were,
were.
and
Oh
and
gosh.
and she's a trooper. I love her. She's a good one. She was doing all the registration, and
Yeah.
she said that she got tired and she got hungry and thirsty. And I only had about 10 people on my crew, and so we were swamped with
Well, that was
things
my
to do.
next question. Who helped you, and how many people or volunteers
I
did you
had
have?
my cousin, and I had Michelle, and I had my mom.
You had two cousins.
Yeah, two cousins. I'm sorry. Right. I had two cousins to help me park, and one of my cousins, the younger one, Michael, he helped me do all of the PA system and all the announcements because he supplied all that because he had it. Um, and then I had my two daughters came and passed some things out while they were there. Michelle did the registration. My sister, she's 5 years older than me, Leslie, she did her, and one of my female customers that I'm building a truck for, she came all the way from Lanesville, Indiana. Her name's Lisa Gent.
Wow.
She drove down here and she said, "I'll be there with bells on." And so she came
Wow.
down
And this is
the
a
night,
customer of yours, Todd.
a
Sorry to
customer and a
stop you,
friend.
but I will stop you. This is a customer of yours, everybody. So I guess that would speak of the quality of your work, and we will see pictures of the restoration process. But the fact that a customer is coming, that speaks highly of exactly what you do there in your garage. Go on, sir.
Yeah, yeah. She drove here from Lanesville the night before, got a motel, stayed in the motel, and made sure she was there on time. And she showed up at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. She's like, "I'm ready to do whatever you need me to do." And I said, "If you and my sister can work the gate, please." You know what I mean? Because um, I knew I had to be all around. I had to do everything. Whatever, if somebody yelled and said, "Todd, what do we do?" I had to try to figure out a way. But I guess what got me started was I've been to probably, no kidding, I've probably been to 800 or 900 shows in my time. Just since I
Okay.
started going, and I've always enjoyed going. And it's not even as much about the cars anymore. It's about, I get to go the camaraderie with all the guys that I've already met and known all these years, and
Yeah.
that means a lot. That these people, you know, and I never was as well known as I am now. After I've had this first show, people are walking up to me that I've never seen, and they said, "You're Tod Johnson." And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "We've seen you on Facebook. You had Shop Truck Gathering." I said, "I sure did." And they're like, "Man, that blue truck is awesome." I said, "I appreciate it." But I mean,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I feel like that's probably going to blow up a lot more. Seems like, because I didn't realize how big it was going to be. I was just thinking, people were like, "What are you expecting?" I said, "I mean, if I had 100 trucks,
Yeah.
I'd be ecstatic." and I had over 200. So I mean, it was just blowed my mind. So then, um, and it was crazy. That many people that I'd never met were all getting along with the people that I already know, that that showed up. All my local guys showed up for me, and it whenever everybody pulled out of the parking lot at the end of the day, there was nothing on the blacktop. There was no trash. Nobody had thrown anything out. They cleaned up after themselves, and I'm like,
That's the
if
car culture. That's the car show
Yeah,
atmosphere, everybody,
yep,
that I love, and which is why I keep chasing these car events. That's
yep,
exactly,
they're wonderful.
yeah.
They're wonderful people. We met so many cool people. That there was a guy there. You'll see his truck in the pictures, but it was a Navy truck, and he was a veteran. His son was a veteran, and the truck was dedicated to some of his son's friends that he lost in Afghanistan. And it's just story after story. People build these trucks. They were their grandfather's trucks, or they were their
Yeah.
dad's trucks, or there's something special about every single vehicle people bring.
or it's a memory. Like my dad had a truck just like mine, but he never kept anything because he was self-employed. And if somebody come along and wanted something he had, he would sell it, and then he would go get another one and build it and drive
Yeah.
it until somebody come along and wanted it. The same, I guess that's where I got my trading from, but I I may break a record with Blue Seal, the blue truck. It might break a record. I've had it for quite a while. I mean, I've had it for a little while. I mean, I know a year
Mhm.
don't sound like a lot, but I mean, there's some of them I can't even keep, because people want them right then. But
100%.
this one is kind of like my cousin said. I think it's going to be it and me are going to be the face of Shop Truck Gathering. So it's got the advertisement on the back glass. It has Johnson's
Yes.
Garage on the door. So if if somebody comes along and buys it, they're going to have deep pockets probably to get that truck because it's pretty
I
nice.
agree 100%, because anytime, even now, when I think of Shop Truck Gathering, I'm thinking of Blue Seal. Blue Seal, everybody, is we're going to be telling you guys and showing you exactly what Blue Seal is in a moment. Beautiful truck, but that's exactly what you said, Todd. Is every time I think about Shop Truck Gathering, I'm not thinking about your face.
Right? You think about the truck. I mean,
I'm
I don't
thinking
blame you.
about your truck.
Right? The truck's way
So
prettier than I am. I agree.
it's getting famous. But coming back to what you said about memories, and Michelle, yourself as well, about how nice everybody is at these car shows and events. And when I do my interviews, and I've said this before as well, is all the cars are nice. I like the big $100,000 resto mods, but then at the same time, I appreciate the patinas. I love the patina trucks. It's
Yes.
not, and I love the Model A's, but it's not about the car. What pulls me and what draws me more is the person in front of it, and the reason they have that car behind them, the memories that they have, whether it's been passed down or whether they just came across it and they had to have it because it was the first car they ever sat in. But it's those memories that makes the car shows, that makes the car events.
I sent you on your messenger. I sent you the link of um, the little boy's birthday cake on your Facebook Messenger. So if you want to put up that is amazing that little boy is that interested.
Tell her about the couple that came down
Oh,
from
I got
Indiana.
it.
Did you get it?
Yeah,
They tried to get the color best they could, but they hit the truck spot on. Forward on the tailgate. They even put pinstripes on the hood like the truck's got the pinstripes. It's crazy.
there was a
Oh,
couple
what a
coming down.
champion. Look at him with the big cake. I will show everybody as well. I just got this
Yes.
picture. So
And isn't that amazing? And he's smiling from ear to ear. Yeah.
Remember the couple that came down from Indiana, and they broke down like 3 times on the way and
Yep.
fixed it on the road.
And
They
fixed it on the side of the road just so they could make it to my event. And then
wow.
I had at least 4 or 5 people that pre-registered, and things come up like a death in the family or a wedding that they didn't know about because they registered way early. Well, and one guy had a medical issue, and they were going to come from Illinois, him and his wife, and they had a 53 or 56, Ford truck like mine that they had restored, but the man was getting older. Well, all those people that couldn't make it, every one of them contacted me and said, just keep our entry fee. They said, just keep our entry fee.
There
Yeah,
he is.
that's Trenton right there. Yep. Yep. He's so happy to be sitting in my truck that was at Beatersville in May this year.
in May, and he just had a birthday.
He just had the birthday this week. Yep.
So November. So he's remembered that truck for that long.
Oh yeah, and loved it. She said it's all he talks about, you know. And I've never met neither one of them until that day in May. So it's pretty neat. But they put the candles around the bed of it. I mean, you couldn't have asked for any better. The girl did a really good job of it. The detail was incredible for somebody to make a truck. And you talk about flattering, you know what I mean? To me, I mean, yeah, that somebody appreciated it that much is pretty neat.
Look at that face.
Yeah, look, he loves that truck. He's eating the whole front end of the truck.
What a champion. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely love it. So sorry to cut you off there, Todd, but I had to share that because I loved
Yes,
watching through the pictures.
I want you to share. Yeah, I want you to. And it, you know, the very first vehicle that I ever owned was a truck. It wasn't a car. I used to ride by this car lot, a used car lot, every day on the bus. And this truck, a 1962 Ford Unibody, the bed and the cab made together, was sitting on the
Nice.
back lot special. Somebody had traded it in, and I was 15 years old, and I would tell mom and dad about it. And like I said, we grew up poor, but we had a little bit. You know, we weren't like living in the streets or nothing, but we weren't rich. And so I would tell them about it. And then in the morning, sometimes I'd be late for the bus, and my dad would take me to school, and then I'd ride the bus home. Well, this went on for 2 or 3 months, and nobody had ever bought that truck. It was just luck. Fate had it.
I was
So
waiting for you.
it was. And so I come through one afternoon on the bus, and the truck was gone. Well, my heart just sank. I'm like, well, my dream truck's gone. Even though, and it wasn't nothing special at the time. I mean, it was special, but I didn't realize how special it was. I just liked it. And so they only made my truck, my first truck, the 62 Unibody, they only made them for 3 years, 61, 2, and 3. And then they discontinued the Unibody and went back to regular pickup truck beds,
Okay.
But anyways, I came home and walked to the house, and it was summertime, and the garage doors were closed at my dad's shop. And I thought, Dad's truck is here, but his doors are closed. That's weird. So I go in the house to get changed because my dad was standing outside, and he said, I need you to help me on something and go get changed. I went in the house and changed to some clothes, for the garage. And before I could walk out the door, I heard something start up, and I said, that's not Dad's truck. What is that? And my dad slid the garage doors open, and they went and bought the truck for me. So I was 15 years old. I worked on it, me and my dad did for a year. We wanted to make sure it was safe, getting everything ready. Somebody else already changed the motor and transmission, but we made sure we did kingpins, bushings, and tie rod ends to make it safe in the front suspension. And so got it up and running like the way we wanted it to and safe. I had the front end line, and I drove that truck for 5 years in that shape, but I kept changing it every year. Like I would change a little something and make it mine, make it me, and change a little something, make it more me, and change. Then I'd lower it a little bit and change the wheels, and I'd lower it a little more and change the wheels. So finally, one morning I wrecked it, and it bent the front suspension pretty bad. And so instead of going buying more suspension, I bought an old car and cut the whole front end off underneath the car and welded it to my truck.
Wow.
And got rid of all the bent up parts on my truck. So it had a car front end and truck body. And so it drove like a car and rode like a car, but it looked like a truck. And that truck.
That sounds so cool. I wish I could see it.
That truck.
What car was it? What was
It was white when I got it, and then it was lime green on the end there when I got rid of it. So I've got some pictures of it somewhere. I don't know where they're at though. Anyways, but I had that truck for, I guess I had it 12 years overall, just piddling with it and making it mine. So then I got to the point to where it wouldn't perform the way I wanted it to, and so we took the body off the frame out in my mom and dad's backyard with no equipment, with just jacks and jack stands and hoist and whatever we had in the grass, and lifted the body off, and we put a 78 Thunderbird chassis underneath my truck, the whole thing front to back.
Now, Todd, you lifted the entire body of the car.
The truck, yeah, the entire body.
Truck.
And see, the bed and the cab was made
With
together.
what? Tell me, you can't just say with this and with that. You got to explain. I like to visualize things. So
okay, we use these things called handyman jacks, which is the jacks that everybody bolts to the hood of their big Jeep when they're out four-wheeling. those
Yes,
big
I've
tall
seen them.
jacks.
Yep.
We used two of those and jack stands and concrete blocks and straps and whatever we could do, and then got the truck leaned back on the bed and pulled the frame out. Well, then we took the car frame and put aluminum wheels on it with no tires so it would sit real low. And me and my dad and my best friend at the time, we got them two positioned together where we could put the car frame under the truck in the grass now. Like I said, no, we had a shop, but it wasn't tall enough, to do all that.
Yes.
And so but we started that morning. By the end of the day, we had that truck body set over on that car chassis. So then when it took me, and of course my truck was a running driving truck when we took it apart. It just wasn't good enough. So I wanted to make it better. And so in about 5 days from that day, I had it back out on the road because I already had the wiring, I already had the brake system, everything was already there ready. And the engine and transmission that was in the chassis was a running driving motor and transmission, and it had some of the same characteristics and wiring that my truck already had because my truck had been updated 4 or 5 times. So when I got it back together, it was super low to the ground the way I wanted it, and it performed like a '78 Thunderbird. So it had big brakes, it had good suspension, but it still looked like an old
Nice.
truck. And me and my friends used to drive it to places, and old men would say, "You can't do that. Ain't no way you drove that here." And I'm like, "We did drive it. You just saw me drive it
Yes,
here."
I can.
Yeah, I drove it here, and we would go down the road, a local road here going toward Bowling Green from Glasgow. We'd go to a Bowling Green on 6880, old. It's a side road, and if you do it at night in my truck, when I had it, it would spark against the pavement and throw sparks out from underneath of it, and the people riding behind us thought it was so cool. They're like, "Man, your truck is so cool." It was so low to the ground.
Yep.
But I drove it like that. You could take this 20-ounce bottle and lay it on its side, and I could roll it with the front bumper. I mean, that's how low it was. It was low. And I drove it
Nice.
everywhere like that. And everybody's
Nice.
like, "You mean it don't tear it up?" And I said, "It's steel. I mean, it's not going to hurt them. The bumper's steel, the
Yep.
cross member's steel. I mean,
Yep.
this is metal. This ain't no plastic car. I mean, I rode around
Exactly. Exactly. And
that thing.
you didn't need to have it on air rides or anything like that because
Nope.
what for?
Nope. It would
What for? You
bounce
could
off.
just
It bounced off the blacktop a little bit here and there, and people think it was just the craziest thing. I said, "Well," and so probably for 20 years, it was the lowest all metal, truck around that didn't have air ride or hydraulics because there was guys that had newer model stuff with plastic air dams
yes.
and air ride and air shocks and whatever, and they could lower them and raise them. I said, "Boys, I drive this one like this every day. It goes everywhere. I drove back and forth to work. I drove it cruising. This was my only vehicle, so it's pretty cool. That kind of really got me started, and the further I went into that, the more I wanted to do better and different. Made it better and better and better. So,
Exactly.
um,
Well, you know what? You achieved exactly what I believe is the purpose of having any kind of a car is to draw attention, get people to turn around and see what is that. So whether
yep,
it's with the noise or with the look or something as crazy as just having it right down there on the
right
concrete
down
or the
on the ground,
pavement,
right?
you achieve that. Now,
And blue
yeah,
seal is I get thumbs up in it all the time, I guess because Michelle picked out the color, and at first I wasn't for it. I'm like, "Baby blue." She's like, "Yeah, but you've done red and you've done black and you've done green. Why not baby blue and just try it?" And I've done rust before. I built them before. I had one we call Rusty Truck. It was a 49 Ford, and it
nice.
was right out of the fence row, solid rust front to back. And I built everything underneath of it and restored all the underneath,
Wow.
drivetrain, frame, everything, and lowered it to the ground with a new front suspension and a new rear suspension. But I put the body back on as rust. It just rusty from front to back, and everybody's like, "Well,
Nice.
that's a cool rusty truck," and so that's how the name stuck. So she
So
Nice.
really liked it.
I
Yeah,
love Rusty. You can Google, what is it you Google to get a picture of
I
Rusty?
think you Google 49 Ford, like Rusty 49 Ford truck or something like that, and
Yep.
somebody's took a picture
Rusty.
of my truck, and it's in that. It's way on down through there. But I was googling it and running through there one night trying to find it because after I sold it a couple times, and my other people sold it that I sold it to, I lost track of where it went. But every time I've ever seen it for sale, people want more money and more money and more money for the same truck that I built. And then I look at the ad and look at the pictures, and they haven't done nothing to it. They just keep wanting more money for it everywhere it goes. I'm like,
Well,
"Okay,
so those patinas are very popular now. The
yep, yep,
patina trucks are very popular.
yep." And
So
my
I'm not surprised.
right, and Blue Seal, A lot of people don't realize it until they walk up on it. I built it that way too. Like I painted the whole truck blue, and then I
Well,
sanded.
you're giving away so much, Todd. Before we get to Blue Seal, love the color, Michelle. Well done. Well done. Because I don't think it would have gotten the effect that Truck Shop Gathering is going for,
Right.
and just your logo, your overall theme, if it wasn't for that color, ma'am. So you did very well.
Yep,
Now,
she did good.
oh, yes. So let's have a look here. Before Blue Seal was born, I guess.
Before the blue came along, yeah.
Now, Todd, what am I looking at here? What are we all looking at?
That's the day that I bought it out of a field in Crossville, Tennessee, and it was a really really sad story. If anybody's got time to listen, I
I've got
bought this
time.
truck.
So this is the
I bought,
1953 F100.
well, it was a '56 when I bought it. That cab's a little bit different, but what I done was
Okay.
I bought it from a guy that had bought it from the family that used to own it. They had sandblasted it to bare metal and restored everything underneath of it. And then they were starting to put it back together. And the grandfather died. And the grandson that was helping with the truck, the grandfather died of cancer, unexpectedly. And the grandson was so stricken with grief about 6 months after his grandfather died of cancer, they found the grandson in the garage hanging
Wow.
beside that truck. He hung himself. He said he couldn't take, he wrote a note, said, I can't take it without my papa or whatever. So it was
Oh,
a sad story about this truck. So the guy I bought it from, he had just bought it from them and he'd had it probably a year. And he's like, I've done figured out that I can't do what this truck needs, what it deserves. And I'm like, okay. So I bought it and brought it home. I found it online on Marketplace, but I brought it and brought it home. And when I got it home, I started taking it apart because I wanted to paint the underneath black and I wanted to paint the frame black again because it was getting dirty where it'd been sitting in that field. And I noticed that the cab had a little more rust in the roof of it than what I was willing to keep, because if you repair, you can't see it in the pictures, but if you repair a roof like a seam where the two pieces of the roof come together,
yep.
if it's not perfect, all the stretching that the car will do going down the road, the truck will do, it could make the body filler come out of it, you know what I mean? And then it pops the paint off. So I started searching for a better cab, and the cab that's on Blue Seal now is a 53, like I said, but I kept the bed, the frame, and the front fenders, and I kept all that rear fender. I kept it all from this truck right here that you're seeing in the field, and that was in September of 2021, and there it is on the trailer after I loaded it. And all the rest of the parts were either inside the cab or in the bed of my truck. And of course, when I bring it home, people are like, "What are you going to do with that one?" And I said, "I'm going to build it."
Well,
And
we're going to show everybody exactly what you've done with that one.
yep, I sent you a lot of pictures of that one. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Have you ever heard Johnny Cash's song, I Bought It One Piece at a Time?
It's about like it's about like except for mine's mostly matching. I mean, kind of sort of.
Oh, that's a good one. I love the story you just told me, and I'm really sorry to hear it for the family as
It was
well. But
sad. It
it gives
was.
so much more meaning to what you've done with the truck.
Yep.
I believe that, and I think you should definitely incorporate that even into shop truck gathering as well,
Right.
because it gives it so much more meaning that you've taken this and you've kept it, and you've restored it, and you're using it for such a good cause.
Yep. I
It's
kept it
not just
alive.
something that you've made to make money and to sell it back off.
Right, right. And like I said, I could sell it, but somebody's gonna have to have deep pockets to own that one. That's pretty special to all of us. Like
Yeah.
I've got pictures of my soon to be 4-year old grandson. I put seat belts in the truck. I've never had seat belts in any of my hot rods. But when my grandbabies come along, he was asking about wanting to ride in it. And so I bought brand new seat belts just for this model truck. They didn't come factory with them, but you can
Yeah.
buy them aftermarket now. So I bought new seat belts and put in the passenger side. And I went to pick him up Thursday or Friday. I picked him up,
Mm-hmm.
and I picked him up in the truck. And I said, "This is how we cruise, Ryan." And I put my left hand on the driver's side window seal. And I look over, and he's got his right hand on the passenger side window seal. And we're cruising down the highway. And I wouldn't take $1 billion for that picture in that moment. Ain't no way. You know what I mean? It was special. And I thought, look at him. he's happy, like he was having fun. And I said, you know what we're doing? Cruising. He
We're
said,
cruising.
cruising, and he give me a fist bump, and he's something else. I've got pictures of it. There's oh, he's something, and we just had a new grandbaby uh today. Yep. So it's let's see. He was
Yeah,
right.
I was it was so cool to hear that today when we spoke earlier on Facebook about what time to do the podcast, and you said, "Well, I'm just waiting for a baby to be born."
Yes, yes, I was. And all right, I'm gonna send it to your messenger. I'll send you pictures of me and him cruising in the truck.
Oh, I would
And
love
like
to
I
see
said,
that, definitely.
oh, he was so proud and happy to be sitting up there in that car seat, riding in that truck. But that's all the Mustang 2 front suspension aftermarket that I got from Speedway. It's what you see there in the pictures. I bought
So
all
it's
that,
from
and
where did you say it's from? A Mustang too?
well, it's the idea from a Mustang too, but these aftermarket companies bought the rights from Ford, and they started making the same front suspension, but they added things to it to make it better and safer and more heavy duty. But
Okay.
still, when you order it, it's called a Mustang 2, but it's not really from a Mustang 2 anymore. It's like the idea of a Mustang 2.
It's
That's
the
where it came
idea
from.
of it.
Yep, and I welded all that on. It's my truck is independent front suspension, new coil springs, new 2-inch drop spindles, rack and pinion steering. I mean, it drives like a car. I mean, it's very reliable. Yeah, and there's all the new 11-inch brake rotors. They're drilled and slotted rotors. It releases the heat and all the brake dust. Um,
That's what it is. Okay, I was wondering about that. I thought it might have been the brakes, and then I thought maybe it's got something to do with the wheels.
Not that well. That's where the wheels mount, but I mean that's the brake rotor that you're looking at, and then new screw-in ball joints. I mean everything on it's brand new in the front suspension, and the rear is almost all new. But like I said, the old man and grandson had restored the rear leaf springs and bushings in the back, and so I kept them. But that's it with the 53 cab. That's when I started putting the color on it, and really, it really started coming together. And you see the rust that I
Yeah.
let come through the rear fenders. Well, I covered it up completely and got it all sealed. And then I started sanding back through it to get some of that to come through. And you can't see it in the pictures that I sent you of the truck finished. But if you walk up on it in the sunlight, you can see where I tried to fade. I tried to make the blue look faded so that it looked like sun had done it.
Hmm.
Like it looked like a factory. I mean, like a factory, natural patina, what it looks like.
No,
But I
you
always
did that, and you've done that well because if it was just a nice blue like that, then it would look very shiny, very new, and it
yep.
doesn't look like that. It's got a real rugged look to it.
And there's no character in a shiny one because I tell people all the time, I said, you can throw $100,000 at a truck because you've got big pockets and big money. You can pay somebody to build you one, but there's no story behind that. You didn't build it, and you didn't go over here and buy the part over here and buy this part down here and this part over here.
Yep.
You didn't hunt none of that. All you did was just sit back and watch TV and write the check. Well, when I build them, I mean, I'm not building them out of junk by no means, but I try to buy used parts where I can and refurbish them, and it saves me money. And then you get a story from the part that you bought. You know what I mean? You get to tell the story that I went here and bought that part and I went there. Um, that hood that you're seeing in the floor there is my new hood. She got that for me for Christmas last year. Um, the hood that was on it was okay, but it wasn't good enough for what I was trying to do. I wanted to have a nice body, but I wanted to have a little bit of a rugged look. Besides, I didn't want big rust holes in it.
Yeah.
And so, and that valance panel right there underneath the headlight panel, that's all brand new. I got that for myself.
But Todd, one of the things that I like, and I've mentioned this as well, I love the classic cars. Everybody knows that, and people ask me, "What's your favorite?" It is the Chevy Bel Air. I do like the
Right.
Ford trucks, but I'm going to say that I know you look like a Ford guy. So
Well, that's okay. Hey, I like them all, but don't come
great.
at me. But don't come at me talking bad about my stuff. Then we can have problems. You know what I'm
Ah, there
saying?
you go. There you
But I
go. We'll
like
get to that in a minute.
that's right.
But
I like them all.
see, I like the classics, and that's the classic that I would love to have one day. And but I always say that I want to be involved. I would like to find one that is in absolute original condition. And I know it's going to be very difficult, but I want to be involved in the restoration
Yep.
process.
And it
I
will be
won't be by
expensive.
myself because there will be no car at the end of it. I like the cars and I appreciate the cars, but I mean, everybody should know by even my videos and stuff, my lack of, I've got big lacking knowledge when it comes to the mechanics and the engines, but I'm learning. I am learning, and I'd love
Right.
to be, have someone there with me, but I want to have my hands inside it because, like you said, if
Nothing
it's going to
wrong
be
with that.
my car, I really just want to be that involved with it.
Well, and there'll be a part of you in that car, you know what I mean? Because you
Yep.
helped do it. And, and Michelle, she wants a 64 56 Mustang. She's always wanted one. And
Nice.
every time I find something else, and I said, we could fix this because it's in better shape than most Mustangs. When you find they've been left sitting and they're rusty. And she's like, but I haven't always wanted a Falcon or a Fairlane. I've always wanted a Mustang. I said, okay. So
Why, Michelle? Why the Mustang for you?
I just think it has such classic lines. There's no other vehicle that looks like that 60-ish Mustang. It's a very classic look. That's what Todd and I love about old vehicles is they don't make them with those beautiful lines like
Yeah.
anymore, like they used to.
everything looks the same these days. Everything,
You
all
know,
favors each other.
Yeah.
They all do. So it's what's sad.
Todd and I both have very unique stories. We've got colorful pasts, difficult. We've had difficult lives, and I think that's why we both identify with the old vehicles. Is you love the story behind those vehicles, and they're survivors. They've survived those tough times, and
100%.
now life is beautiful. That's the
100%.
that's
There
the
are
beauty.
absolute survivors, especially when you see ones that haven't been touched or haven't been restored. I'm not sure if you've seen recently on my channel, the last couple of videos that I've done, I have found I found a 1941 Mercury untouched. I mean, all
I'm
the
telling
rest was there. The man's grandfather was, the mum went into labor in the back seat of that car. And
you. Oh my
Oh
what,
Lord,
wow!
yeah,
yeah, what I
yeah.
loved about that story was not just the story, the actual car. This Merc was still running with the
Oh yeah.
same engine, the
Same
Oh
same.
engine,
wow!
Yep.
same transmission. Yep. And people
The guy
say,
turned it on. Did you see it? The guy turned it on.
I
So,
think I think I did, but I'm gonna go back and look at it. I stay online all the time because there's always somebody talking to me about some kind of vehicle or some
yep.
kind of truck. But
Those old Mercs are beautiful vehicles. That's talk about body
I'm talking about
lines.
body lines,
That's a
yeah, they've
beautiful
got beautiful
vehicle.
lines.
Yeah. And the survivor factor, the durability of it. I mean, that whole body shape was all there, was all intact. It was just
Well,
rust. It was
you
just a
take a
beautiful
19
brown rust.
you take a 1941 vehicle. I mean, how old is that today? I mean, that's uh I can't think. I
Oh,
can't do it in my head.
it's close to 60 years even.
Yeah.
Right, so 60 years old, and if you take my late model truck or her late model car that we both have they stay in the garage, when they're not being driven, they're not going to be here 60 years from now. I promise that. They won't never make it. The technology won't last
No.
through the test of time because there's something that'll go bad and nobody have any tools to work on it
Yeah.
because it'll be out of date. It's not going to make it that year. And then plus the bodies are made out of really thin metal. They do
Yes.
pretty good frames, but they have thin metal on the bodies, and I call them throwaway cars. I mean, you drive one 10 years, and you pretty much got to get rid of it because it's wore
Yeah.
out all over. And here you got these classics that are 60 and 80 years old. Look like a Model A. Some of them close to 100 years old. I mean, they
Oh,
just
100%. Yep.
yep,
I've sat in a 100-year-old car. I sat in
yep,
a two-bucket, which was 100 years old earlier this year. That
yep.
was a lot of fun. But 100%, the modern day cars, I've got a Charger, which is a later model Charger, and I
Mm-hmm.
love it. It rides well. But when it comes to the actual body, the frame, I mean, you would think it's almost plastic because the smallest thing you'd notice a dent here or a dent there. It's like, I haven't hit anything, but the
Right.
smallest things
You
will,
just drove
you'll
it,
see it
right? You
on.
just drove it.
Yeah,
And
it's just
if these old vehicles that I'm working on and all of us other car truck guys are working on, if they could just talk, if they could just tell us where they've been and the things they've seen, it would be
I
amazing.
will be there, Todd. If they could do that, then I will be talking to the vehicles and not the
That's
engines.
right. She's like, I'm not interviewing people anymore. It's going to be the cars. That's
Nope.
right. I don't blame you. Yeah.
It's like that Merc with mom went into labor in the back of that car. That's a life.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to keep that one. I mean, that's all.
Well, it's
So,
now so the story's there on the channel as well. You have to see a beautiful family. I spoke to the father whose grandfather had it, passed down to him, and now he's given it to his son.
oh my
Josh
goodness.
is the name.
What's the
And
name?
now Josh himself, he's got a boy as well. So
Okay.
it would be passed down to the fourth generation.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
And I
And
love
that's the
that.
way
You
it
have to see.
should
I
be.
found those guys at Summer Nights Cruise in Somerset,
Yes.
Kentucky.
Yep.
Yeah, that was that's a great show. I found the
Yep.
first Camaro as well. That was the prototype was there too. But let's
Hmm.
get back to this truck, Todd. Let's have a look here. I did like the bed. Now tell me about the wood.
That's red cedar. A friend of mine, um, he bought, he got a tree give to him, a big, huge cedar tree, and he went and cut it down, hauled it in, and he took it to the Amish community and had them to plane it out and cut it and make the board sizes. And the past two trucks that I've built has had his red cedar in it,
Yeah.
and he will not take any money. He said I don't have very much in it, and I've got a building full of it, and it's going to sit here until something happens to it and goes bad. If you want to put some in the bed of your truck, then he said I'll bring you some and you come get it. And if you look there, it don't take but 6 or 7 boards, you know what I mean, to do the bed of a truck. So you pick out 6 or 7 good boards, and I raised the floor of the bed the amount that you see right there in front of the tailgate. You see that sticking up? It's like 2.5, 3 inches. That's
Yep.
how much I raise the bed floor, because when I lower it, the rear suspension starts coming up into the bed floor, and so you don't want to bust it. So I just raise the floor. So it's got all the same braces. It's just they're just raised up 3 inches. It's just raised up 3 inches higher.
I mean, the wood there definitely caught my eye. I'm always checking out the wood in the back of the beds, and I'm always curious to see. But I knew that one was different. It definitely wasn't
It
oak and it
is.
wasn't pine. So,
It's red cedar,
yeah.
and it's got 5 braces from the factory, and all I did was just raise, like I said, I raised the bed bracing to hold the bed up. The rest of the bed bracing that holds the bed in place to make it line up with the rest of the body line, that's all. That's all left stock. But the bed floor braces is what I raised, and once I do it, I use treated lumber underneath to raise the bed floor. I used treated 2x4s and screwed them to the original steel cross members, and it
Okay.
raises it up. It raises it up 2.5 to 3 inches. It depends on how thick I want to buy them. And then once I get those put on, then you can let you start laying the cedar on. And I don't put uh, the stainless steel strips in them, because once you raise the bed floor, the bolts would have to be 5 or 6 inches long. You know what I mean, to go
Yeah.
through, and it's too much trouble to reach back through all that. And so I always just put them in. That has it has gold anodized decking screws, like made for the outside of your outdoor deck. So the screws will be
Okay.
there forever. And once I get it together and get it assembled, when I put the polyurethane over top of it, I polyurethane over top of the screws and all. And so the screws are countersunk, so now they've got clear over top of them. So I mean, they're going to be there; they'll be there forever. And that cedar, I'm not going to load an engine or a transmission in this truck, obviously, but we put camping equipment and chairs and coolers, and it hauls it fine, that kind
There's
of
no
stuff. But
scratches.
no, it hardly ever scratches it up, and if it does, you can go back over it, and you can't even tell that where you did it. I mean, it works out pretty well. I
So is it
even
a clear
sometimes,
lacquer that you put on top?
yes, it's a spar. I think it's anyway. I think it's a Spar brand. I believe what it is, but it's a clear, and it's a brush on. So I brush it on, and that's got 6 coats of that the clear on that bed floor, because I wanted it to where if it did scratch, you could clean it up and and stop the scratch. You can get rid of it. But if you put 1 coat on it and walk away, it won't be that it won't have that luster. It won't have that shine. So I would come in, I would do that, and then let it dry all night, and come in the next morning and I do another coat.
And
Just
do
keep
it
it till I
again.
got it till I got it looking like I wanted it.
And now we see the beautiful blue seal, and Michelle, you had a big part in that in choosing the color of it. So why the blue? Was it just because he didn't have a blue truck?
It was just an unusual color. You don't see that baby robin's egg blue at the car shows much, and I just thought it would be something unusual. And it's interesting to have your sweetheart listen to you in his project that he's so passionate about.
Yep. And well, I mean, I said, you know what, you're probably right. And of course, she was right. You know what I mean? It worked out really well because people really like the truck. Everybody does, guys and
Well,
girls
it's
alike.
amazing. I
It
mean, you
is.
guys, I'm so happy for you guys to have each other, but also to be running the event together, and then you're making projects and you're tossing ideas. It's not that common, it's not that common. So
No.
it's really beautiful. Cherish it.
Yep.
Love the pinstriping here, Todd.
I
Who
had
did
that.
this?
Nolan Patrick Scharnhorst out of Tennessee. I was at the Redneck Rumble this in June. I was at the Redneck Rumble in June, and he was there. I've known him for a little while, but never had him to do anything because he's always swamped at the shows. And so I caught him early one morning and pulled over there because I camp at the Redneck Rumble. So I called him over there and I said, "Hey, what would you charge to do? I want you to do the hood and the tailgate." And I said, "I don't want overboard, outrageous too much. I just want
Yeah,
something to to bring out that go around the emblem because that's a brand new emblem. It's got the blue color and it's a new emblem on the grill." I said, "Just something to accentuate it." And he said, "What color?" And I said, "Black." And I want the off white put in there like the grill and the roof of the truck because it matches the wheels. And so he's like, "I got you." And so I went over and checked on him a couple of times. And I'm like, "Dude, it looks amazing." So he come around to the back and started working on it. And I said, "I want you to, when you come around to the rear," I said, "I want the pinstripes to stay under the Ford letters. And I want the end of your pinstripes, instead of putting a really sharp little edge on it, I want it to have wrenches at the end." And he's like, "Wrenches?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Nobody's ever asked for that." And I said, "Good. That makes it even better. That's what I want." And so I've got pictures of it there somewhere, I'm sure. And if I didn't send them to you, I can. But that's it sitting in front of our house with Johnson's Garage on the door. And there's so many people these days that don't use steel wheels, but I think the steel wheels brings you back to an era that people are forgetting about. The metal wheels. A lot of people are going 16s and 20s and 22s, but I don't think those go as well with what I'm doing. Now, if somebody wants to put them on there, of course it's their vehicle. But I just think I like the old steel wheels because it makes them look true to their roots. Because
that's
these trucks
true.
didn't come out with aluminum wheels; they came out with steel wheels. But those are just new wheels that I ordered, and then I ordered them to fit what I was doing. So it's got a 9-inch Ford rear end, truck rear end in the rear, and then it's got that new Mustang 2 front end, but it's got small bolt pattern and big bolt pattern forward. Um,
It's beautiful.
a
I
yeah, a
love
lot of
the off
people,
white up here on the top there. It's
and the
it's
reason
absolutely
why
done so well.
I did the off white, Ford Motor Company never used bright white on anything. Like back in the day, especially everything they had was like a Wimbledon white, which is an off white. And
Okay.
so I knew if I'd done a bright white wheel and a bright white roof, that it was not going to pay homage to what those old vehicles had. But um, there wasn't very many of them that would have been two tone back in the day. Those trucks right there, all trucks back in the old days, they were workhorses. I mean, they worked them all day long and all week long. And on the
Yep.
weekend, you drove a car. You didn't drive a truck. Well,
Yep.
I'm a truck guy. I don't want anything else. I'm always loved trucks. I always have.
Well, that's
I've had
why
a
I
couple.
appreciate the trucks, and I get drawn to the trucks as well. And especially nowadays, when you see them with the air rides, and they're all lowered down as well. Because, and I've said this before, the trucks were made for work, for labor. They won't look as as a luxury vehicle or a vehicle you would go on a Sunday with your family or your girlfriend. But now these trucks, these classic trucks, have just taken a life of their own.
They have.
They've been reborn, and they're not designed for work or for labor, even though some of them do use it. But these are
Right.
date night material,
That's
the way
right.
they've been done up.
And I I'm gonna send it to you through Messenger. I'll send the tailgate to you since I don't think I ever got it to you.
No, I haven't seen the tailgate. I definitely would
Okay,
want to see that. Yep.
you wait till you see the tailgate. It's one of a kind. He said he'd never had anybody ask him to do that, and he's in his 30s. This boy is. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's really really good, as you can see. Um,
Lucille got ink.
yeah, she got ink. There's the now if you could make it look at the ends of the pinstriping.
The
It's
wrenches.
it's wrenches, and I wanted to do that because I'm a mechanic. The truck says Johnson's Garage on the door, and I thought wrenches would go good with the pinstriping. And so, since nobody had ever asked him to do that, I thought that would be a good incorporating it. And if I don't tell you, some people don't even notice they're back there. They just think it's pinstripe. But I said, go back there
Yeah,
and
but
look at the
once you tell me, I can't not see it anymore.
That's right. You can't miss it now. But if I hadn't told you, you just think, oh, that's just some cool pinstriping. But it's even
Yeah,
cooler to have the wrenches incorporated in it. And I told him he did exactly what I said. I said keep it down below the Ford letters because I don't think it didn't need pinstripe to go between each letter or up in between them.
no,
You know,
no,
that's
no,
that's one
no.
word, right? That's one word, and it needs to stay that way. FORD, and the
Yeah,
pinstriping should be a separate entity, but add to the truck. You know, so it's. I
100%.
thought he
And
did
that's what
really
it
good.
is. You've made it. It's subtle. It adds to the beauty of it. Yet it still stands out. It's not that small, but it's not
Right.
overwhelming to take away from the overall look of this beautiful truck.
Right.
That's
And
beautiful.
back in the, I guess it was, I don't know how long it's been going on. Maybe maybe 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. When the pinstriping, they weren't always that way. But I heard that years ago, the way pinstriping started was um, these guys would travel around with a brush and the paint in the trunk of their car, and they would go to every car lot and stop at everybody's driveway and say, "Would you like some pinstriping on your car?" And it wasn't like the kind of pinstriping I've got. It was just a stripe all the way around, or put a little stripe around the door handle. That's the way I understand from reading about it that's how it started. Like
That's how it
somebody
started.
went,
I had no idea.
that's
Thank you
what
for
I heard.
that. No
Yep,
idea.
that's what I heard. I heard that they would go, they'd just pull up to a car lot and say, "Let me put some pinstripe on this thing, really wake it up." And they would walk around it with a steady hand, no measuring tape or nothing. They would pinstripe
And
that car
just,
all the way around. Yep,
yeah.
and do a perfect, and do a good job. And it started like that years ago, probably in the 60s or maybe even the 50s. But and then it just took hold. All these guys have practiced at it, the ones who do that. And Nolan is one of the youngest ones around local. Like I said, he's in Tennessee. But he's one of the youngest ones around. I wanted him to come to my shop truck gathering, but he has a wife and two young kids. It's hard for him to come, 2 or 3 hours and
Yep.
stay all day and then drive 2 or 3 hours back home in the afternoon. So I
Yep.
told him, I said, I wish I could get you to come to my show because he would stay swamped at my
See,
truck. So
for you guys,
everybody,
Todd and Michelle, I mean, you're in the grandbaby stage, okay? So you guys are free as a bird, and many people like myself would be jealous of you.
yep, we are. We're,
Well,
we're
you can
empty
get
nesters.
up and do this and do that, but
We do whatever
unfortunately,
we
when it
want
comes
to.
to having a young family, it's not so
It's tough.
easy.
It's tough.
all
Yep,
all the stages have their advantages.
they do.
Having young children at home, it can be exhausting, but it's such a short time period, and it's over. Nobody tells you that it's going to be over and you're going to miss it, but you will.
But you will.
You will.
And we do.
And we're jealous of you too. So
Yep.
we miss the pitter patter a little
We
bit.
miss the
or a
pitter
little
patter
time.
and the chaos. Sometimes I miss it, but then there's days where I say I'm going to Beach Beacon or I'm going to Louisville or I'm going to go to the Redneck Rumble, and there's nobody saying no. Take me to the this or take me to that. So if she's at work or if she's here wanting to sew, sometimes she don't go and sometimes she does. But we've got a camper that we can camp in, and when we go together, and when she don't go, sometimes I take the camper. But if you want to talk about dedicated, I pull the camper with my daily truck down to the Redneck Rumble, hour and a half away, and then unhook it and drive the daily truck back and park it in the garage, and then get Blue Seal and drive it back down an hour and a half, and
Wow, that
stay
is
the week,
dedication.
and then stay the weekend, and then on
Well,
Sunday
I must have missed you because you said you went to the Redneck Rumble in June.
in June and
Is
September, I
it-
went both. Yeah,
You went both because I was
yeah, I went
there
all
in
together.
September.
Yeah, but I mean, I camp And I can't believe you didn't see the truck because it was sitting in front of another photographer's campsite, Candy Hurst Images. It was sitting in
Okay.
front of her. That's where I parked it at. But
I
it
was
was
so
right up,
excited. Thought it was my first time at the Redneck Rumble, and I was seeing things I've never seen before
never
in my
seen.
life. So
There's a lot to take
What do
in.
you think about my mom and dad showed up at that one time before my dad passed away? And they said the imagination and the engineering is unbelievable what
I
you can
loved it.
see at that show.
I absolutely loved it.
People
I mean,
built
I
this
was
stuff
just
out of
like
their head.
walking around like this, and I'm like, wait, is my camera on? So,
And
yeah,
you
I
can't
loved it.
see it all. I mean, that's why I stay all weekend. You can't see it all. It's
There's
Right.
crazy.
so much ingenuity. The first time I went to that show, my mind was blown that the things that people come up with out of just pieces of metal. It's
Pieces of
amazing.
metal, parts and scrap pieces, and you go out here, and some of these guys are building the parts they need by hand, but they work in a machine shop or something like that, and they've got the machines to do it. I'm not that far along yet, but I mean, one of these days maybe I will be. But it's pretty neat what people can come up with.
I love shiny vehicles. They're beautiful and I admire them. But, somebody just took a big old wad of money out of their wallet and went and bought something. The stuff you see at the Redneck Rumble is that's been made with loving care and with hands. It's not just been
Yep,
bought, you
yep,
know.
yeah. I
I
was
really loved seeing the younger people, in their 20s, even some teenagers there as well. Whether they were on a bike or a
yeah,
lawnmower or whatever with wheels,
yes,
I
they're
loved it
full of
because
that.
they were there. They were there. They were part of that as well. And it was good to see it alive. Like, I mean, for me, I appreciate that so much more here in the southern states because grew up in Sydney, big city living. So, I mean, for me, I come here and I'm like, my eyes are wide open. I'm just
All the
loving
time.
every minute of it. Yep, I
Yeah.
absolutely love it, and it needs to continue. Now, Todd, tell me about the engine. I do want to ask you this.
Okay.
Where are we?
Did I send you a picture of that? I think.
Yep, I've got the picture here.
Okay. It's kind of a hidden. It's kind of a hidden. You wouldn't really know it. That's a 1990 model Crown Victoria engine and transmission right out of your grandma's church going car. It had 78,000 miles on it. I took off everything on the outside and top of the engine that looked like a 1990 Crown Vic and got rid of it. And so it has aluminum intake, aluminum valve covers, an aftermarket breather. It's got an aftermarket water pump, aftermarket thermostat housing there to make it to sit right. I did that because when you open the hood of that, it doesn't look like a 1990 Crown Vic anymore. It looks
No, it
like
looks pretty new.
it looks like a 289 or 302, or it could even look like a 351, but it
Yep.
doesn't look like what it came out of because what it came out of, it was all electronic fuel injection, and it's just a bunch of garbage covering up the motor that it's supposed to be for convenience for people who don't know how to drive except for turn the key. You know what I mean? Put gas in, that's all they know. But I get in
Was
this
it
truck.
was Crown Victoria the cars they used for the police back in the day?
Yep, yep, it sure was. And this was a square body Crown Vic, so they made them like from 82 all the way up into like 91. They had basically the same body, and they
Hmm.
all had the 5.0 with the automatic overdrive. Every one of them had the same engine. And so, you know, this one wasn't a police car. This one literally was an old woman's car. And whenever she stopped driving it, or the old man stopped driving, whatever, they sit in the yard until the family says, somebody come get this junk out of the way, and they think that it's no good for nothing. It's ready for the junk, but they don't know that engine transmission don't have very many miles. And I took it and brought it back to life. That power brake booster and master cylinder that you see there on the firewall, that's out of a 2000 Ford Ranger, right out of the salvage yard, and they work perfect because they're internally regulated proportion. You don't have to have an aftermarket proportion valve. Then I used the starter solenoid on the other side of the firewall there. Um, it's just like anything from the 60s all the way up into the 80s is how they started the Fords. They had an off-site solenoid there. Um, and so I just mount it to the firewall where I think it looks good and it's convenient for me to work on. Plus, it's up away from the heat so that the heat doesn't destroy it because the heat will destroy that plastic starter solenoid there. And but it has an original rebuilt, remodeled 53 Ford truck heater in it too. It's the
Oh
original
wow.
one for that, but it's been remodeled. So the motor's been redone and the heater cord been replaced. And so you see the heater hoses running there from the engine over to the firewall. So it's got the original knobs that I put back in it and the original cable, original styles, all been redone. Um, so, I turn the key on this truck and you hear the fuel pump run and leave it running a couple seconds. You pat the gas twice, you start it, and the truck will sit there and run all day long. It sits there and runs cool. It's got an aluminum radiator with an electric fan controlled by a thermostat. So, I mean, you can literally take off, and we have already. You can take off and take this truck to the Smokies, 5 hours away. You can go to
Yep.
Louisville, Lexington, Nashville, and it'll set up there and run with any new vehicle on the highway, 80, 90 mile an hour all day long. And people look at you real funny, and then they'll try to get away from you. And next thing you know, you're back beside them again, and you wave at them. Some of them can't believe it. They're like, "Nah, that junk can't do that." But I mean, I can sit up there and run with the rest of them.
Look
Now
at
you've
those.
done it really well. One of the things that I appreciate this is even though we've got wires, we can see everything. It's still very neat.
It's clean.
You
Yep,
haven't
that's
got.
right.
It's still very clean. You haven't gone in to hide all the wires and put the what do you call them, those brackets things to cover it all up and have a very
Right.
clean firewall. Even though there is stuff there, I like it. I like it a lot because it's neat. The wires are still neat even though they're there.
Yep,
And again, it goes back to the character of the truck,
it
the
does.
fade you're trying to do to mimic that it's still got a little bit of sun on it, even though it's fresh paint.
That's right.
So you've done
And
this really well.
the spark plug wires that are on that,
They
uh,
match. Look at that.
And they match.
we ordered blue plug wires, and it's also got a blue distributor cap where the wires connect to, so it kind of goes along with the truck blue. But instead of me buying spark plug wire looms to hold those spark plug wires straight and neat like that, I learned on in a Carcraft magazine probably 20 years ago, or 25 maybe. You take 4 or 5 plastic zip ties. You put one around all 4 wires, and then you run one between each wire, and you start tightening them up slowly, all of them slowly, a little bit at a time. And when you finally get them all tightened up correctly, they wind up looking just like what you see there. It looks like something that you bought from a store, except those are made from plastic zip ties,
Wow.
and they separate the wiring and make it look neat. And then I try to keep the lengths look correct too. Try to keep them
Yeah,
going where they
100%.
belong. Yep. So it's a passion for sure. I mean, if you, I have seen people open the hood before, and if I was that person, I'd be embarrassed to open the hood. Some of their stuff that they put together because it has there's no thought gone into it. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
just throw something together, and if it starts, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
But if you want to open the hood on it, at least put a little bit of care in it. You know what I mean? To make it look nice. That's the way I feel.
Because anybody who appreciates a car, they're going to ask to check under your hood.
Yep. And
So be prepared. If you're going to make a car that you want people to have a look at, then be ready for them to have a
You
look
better
at,
be. They're
especially
going
under
to say,
the hood.
"Can I see the engine?" And we're like, "Yes, you can." Or if it
That's
looked
what
like
I always
steel,
do. I'm like, let's open the hood. What's going on there? And
that's the
some
first
people
thing.
do get embarrassed. They're like, oh, it's a little bit dusty, And I'm like, that's all right. I still want to see what's under that.
Well, I tell you what, and one thing that really, really, really got on my nerves. I went to the Summer Nights cruise one weekend. It's been probably 15 years ago because it's been going on over 20 years. The Summer Nights cruise.
Oh, yes. They had
And
their
this,
150th show a
yep.
few
And
weeks
this
ago.
guy had built a $50,000, $60,000 like a 50 Chevy panel truck. Like what they deliver milk in.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful street rod, red on the outside. And he had the hood open, and so I was admiring the truck and the job that he had done all over. Everything was clean and nice. Even the engine was nice and clean. And I look up on the firewall where the power brake booster and master cylinder is mounted, and it's crooked, like sitting at an angle like this instead of straight. And I'm like, you spend all this time and money and to make it clean and beautiful, and you can't use a measuring tape or a level to put that on the firewall
Or a
straight.
leveler.
Yeah, or re-drill the holes and straighten that thing. I just wanted to go up and tell him, can I please just fix this for you? I mean, it was just awful. It
He may
ruined it.
watch this video and say, "Oh my God, he's talking
He's
about
talking
me."
about mine. Yeah. He's right.
It's all
But
okay. It's all okay in the car world. You know what? And that's the
it is.
thing. Like your eye will get drawn to that one detail when everything else is looking perfect.
Yeah, everything else looked good, but that
It's
one
it's it's,
detail is
it's
messed
human
up.
nature.
It is. It's human nature.
But you know
But
what?
yeah,
This has been absolutely brilliant. Let me show everybody Todd's Instagram where you can see Blue Seal in action. Actually, let's see if we can. I put this here.
yeah. There's videos of it driving around. There's videos of it in our yard. I mean,
Well, there's a few.
there's a few. Yeah, that's that's at I think that's at the Ford Fest. Yeah, at Beach Bend. That's what that is. And then that's another project there you go.
There we go. Look at that, everybody.
Yep. And it's sitting there running, but you can't hear it. It's sitting there idling, just smooth. And of course, I show the bed and the matching cooler.
And you've got the matching cooler. So what's
Yep.
that silver cylinder in the back?
It's a fuel tank. It's an
Oh, that's
aftermarket
the
fuel
fuel
tank.
tank.
Yeah, all stainless steel, polished. It's just a little. It's just a little detail that most people hide them underneath the bed, they buy an aftermarket and hide them underneath the bed. But
Yeah.
before they start hiding them underneath the bed, people put them in the bed. You know what I mean? Because they come out factory behind the seat, and it's a bomb just waiting to happen behind the seat. It's not very safe. It
Oh,
smells.
I have seen them.
Yeah, and it smells
And
like fuel fumes. Yeah, there it is going down the road. That was my birthday, May the 20th. That
oh,
video
was it?
driving down the road this year. Yep. I told her. She said, "What are you going to do today on your birthday?" I said, "I'm going to cruise Blue Seal." She said, "Have at it." And I met one of the best new friends that I have. I've got old friends that are best friends, but one of my best new friends, a guy named Steven. I was in my truck and he was in his classic 68 Chevy. And I saw him at the red light on my birthday and I said, "Cool truck, thumbs up." He said, "You got a cool truck." And so we took off and I followed him and he pulled over in a parking lot and we started talking. And I stood there and talked to him for probably an hour. And we hit it off immediately because we're both build our own stuff, truck guys. And he's like, "You know what? Sign me up for the shop truck gathering. Go ahead." And he paid his money that day. And that was in May. And the shop truck gathering wasn't until July. And now he gets with me because I've been around here longer. He's kind of a newbie around here. He came from like Missouri. He lived in Tennessee, Missouri, California, Arizona. He's been in the military too, but he's only like 33. I think he's like 33. Been in
And
the
you just
military.
met him there on the street, just
I
driving.
met him on the streets of Bowling Green. Yeah, we was out riding around. And so he's like, "You know what?" He said, "The passion that you have about this, just sign me up for it, put me down, and I want to pre-register." And he has, as soon as we met that day, him and his wife have helped me make some of these stickers and license plates. They've helped me make T-shirts. They've helped me pass out flyers at every event that we go to.
Wow.
And he always gets with me and says, "What's going on this weekend?" Because he said he's never seen the car and truck culture as good as it is here in Kentucky. Like he said, there's something going on every single weekend. He said, "I've lived in bigger cities and bigger, states." And he said, "And they didn't have the culture that you all have." And I said,
No.
"Well, that's good." And I said, "Kentucky and Tennessee's got it going on. They got a lot going on."
Yeah,
car
Tennessee
culture.
definitely has to.
And car
Yeah.
culture is a beautiful thing. You meet some wonderful people through
Dude.
it.
Yep,
100%.
I've met some crappy people, but I met mostly good people.
I love it. I mean, that's why I keep going back and I chase it at every car show, whatever I can. My next one with the big ones would be the Good Guys in Arizona, and then be doing the Turkey Rod Run in Daytona. But
Yep.
in between that, I try to find local ones. Like just over the weekend, I was at a local show just here in my hometown in Knoxville. I went to two on the Saturday, and you just find these unique cars. That's where I found those
Oh, yeah.
original Pontiacs and
Yep.
the Ford Galaxy. So I love
It's
it.
amazing.
It's
It's
amazing.
amazing. It is. And I told her, I said, I kind of envy Rana. I kind of envy you. You get to go to all the shows that
Yeah,
sometimes I
I've been
can't.
told that before.
Yep, you get to go to all of them. I'm like, well,
Well,
And
that's
you
the
thought,
fun part. The fun part is when I'm out there walking around with my backpack
yes,
on, talking to people and seeing all these
yep,
great cars. And then the work part comes when I come back here on my table and I start
yes,
editing and dealing with YouTube and what I can do, what I can't do. So,
right. Things
yeah.
you can and can't say, and yeah,
Yes,
hmm
exactly. Exactly.
hmm
Well, you know all about that too. But hey,
I
Todd,
do.
tell us. So, when is the dates for Shop Truck Gathering next year?
It's Saturday, July the 29th, and it's at Cave City Convention Center, Cave City, Kentucky. And the times, I've changed the times a little bit. I think we're going to do 8 to 4 this year because people started coming in early and staying late this first time. So I thought, you
Yeah.
know what, I might as well make it convenient for everybody.
Well,
I'll
it's
open
summer
up.
as well, so you might have people coming in even around after 1 o'clock and then wanting
Yes.
to stay in when it gets a bit cooler.
Yep. Yep. So, and we have a I think it's 25 or 30 foot wide, and it's about 60 foot long pavilion. And when things get hot, people just come up to the pavilion, put their chair down, and all my food vendors are around that pavilion. So you get your food, you go underneath the pavilion, there's air flowing through there and fans going. People come over and sit down, so you got a good, cool place to sit down. It's a pretty nice atmosphere, and my my only fear, which is a really good fear, if that makes any sense, is that probably the third year or the fourth year of this, if it keeps growing, like if it does as good the second and third year as it did the first year, it's probably going to outgrow this place. And the place that I have it at is a super nice little venue. But they said
But
they
you
can
know
only,
that happens. That's often the case with
yep,
any of the car shows that has started, whether it was the Rod Run or MSRA's back to the 50s that started
yep,
off outside a parking lot of Walmart by
yep,
a bunch of friends, and now look where they're at. So
right,
that's a good thing. And the thing that I
yep,
love about it is it's so family run. You've got Michelle with you. You've got other family members in there as well. It's great. I'm definitely gonna put it on my calendar to be there as well next year and get to see. I love trucks. Get to see the trucks and see both of yous in person.
yep.
So yeah, we're looking for.
We,
I'm looking forward to it,
we
and so should
appreciate
everybody.
we really appreciate it. We do. And I told her, I said, I feel honored. You may have only been in it 7 months, but a lot of people know about you and they know what you do. A lot of people heard about you and they've seen your
Yeah.
videos. So I feel honored that you contacted me. Of course, we were already friends on Facebook and Instagram because of the car world, of course.
Because of the car world.
Yep.
And that's
Because
the same with so many other people as well. And it's an honor for people to be talking back and liking my videos, liking what I do, because it just motivates me more.
mhm.
Like you said, been doing this for 7 months, small following at the moment, but the following that I have, I feel like I know each and every single person because either I
Right,
met them at the show and they've subscribed on the spot, or they're putting comments on YouTube, or they've become friends on Facebook. It's not like where, there's thousands of people and I don't know who anybody is. So
right,
in that regard, I like it. I'm in no rush to be growing this channel astronomically at all. I'm just
right.
having a good time. This is weekends for me. So, but yeah, it's fun. And I love meeting good couples like you guys and seeing beautiful classics.
And we appreciate it. And if anybody wants to see, if you want to see anything else about the Shop Truck Gathering, I have a Facebook group that's dedicated to the show. It's called Shop Truck Gathering. And when I started, it was, of course, I started from nothing last November, so a year ago. And I have almost 3,900 members now. And that's how much people like
Did you
trucks. They just
start this
love,
only 1 year ago, the group?
yeah, a year ago, the Shop Truck Guys. I started the group. I actually
Wow.
started the group out and called it Shop Trucks at first, but
Okay.
the Shop Truck Gathering. When I seen how big the show was, the very first one, I said I'm going to rename the group to the same name as the show because everybody is hearing about this Shop Truck Gathering. Tell me about this. So now it's getting to where you go on Facebook or Instagram and you type in Shop Truck Gathering and there it is. And it's gonna, it pops straight up. It's the only one of its kind. And I've been told that more often than not. You can go in and join it, or I can invite you. Or if you have friends that you want to invite, you just invite them in. It's there's no questions to answer, but I've had some rules. I put some rules in there when I first did it. No nudity because a lot of guys think that that's
Thank
the
you.
coolest thing. but it's no nudity. I try to be no profanity. I mean, my wife, both of my daughters, my mother, and my niece, they're all women in my family, and I love them
Yeah.
all, and all of them are part of my group. And plus, as as touchy as a subject as politics is, no politics, no nudity, those kind of things. Just keep it out of the group. I want the group to be about trucks and what we love, not
Yeah.
about anything else. And if you have a bad opinion about somebody's truck, try to keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Let people enjoy that truck for what it is, just because they're doing it. And it started out as shop trucks, like I said, but now it's grown to, it doesn't have to be an actual shop truck that you use in your shop. I mean, it could be any truck, 1998 and older, but
Yeah.
it started as the shop trucks. But Blue Seal sometimes looks like a pretty truck, like it's, you're not going to use it. But I put a 2-inch receiver hitch underneath the back of it, and I haul a trailer with it and pull my golf cart on it. I put the camping supplies on it. Um, and if things go right, cross my fingers, I'm going to build a teardrop camper that looks the part, make it look like it's from the 50s and 60s, like the truck is. And that's what I'm going to put.
Nice.
That's what I'm going to put behind it to pull. And it's not going to be very big, and it's not going to be kitchen and bathroom and all that. It's just going to be a bed and so a couple of cabinets and an air conditioner, for the heat. And I'll have a generator because I've got 2 generators. I got either size. Plus, I'll have it to where you can plug it in when you get to a campground. So it's going to have some modern things in it, but it'll look like the old part on that. And the trailer that I'm building it on is my late dad's trailer. He used it to haul lawnmowers with, and it's a 4x8. And so I got it off my mom when my dad passed away. And there's plans all over the internet, and I have plans in my head. So I've been looking at everybody else's ideas, and I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna use Dad's trailer to do it on. Just another homage back to my dad, since he helped me start all of this. Is all
Yeah.
because pretty much because of him.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful. I'm looking forward to seeing that trailer. So I
yep,
don't know
I'm,
how
I'm gonna
fast you're
try
going to be
this winter.
working on it.
I'm gonna try this winter really hard, and I've already got the ideas. It'll be rounded in the front, and it'll come down to a point in the rear, just like the old ones that you can buy. And they're $10,000 to buy one, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
spend that. Of course, I'm going to do it myself. I mean,
You're going to build it. You're going to
I'm going
build
to
it.
do it
Well,
just like I do my own.
We
yeah.
can't
Well,
wait
I
to.
envy you guys with those skills. Sorry, Michelle?
I was just gonna say we can't wait to meet you. Can't wait for the shop truck gathering and get to meet you in person.
Yep.
Same here. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, you guys. Todd mentioned it on Facebook, and I said, okay, what are the dates? Because, and I was talking to another person as well, and they mentioned events, spring and summer. There is shows every single weekend.
Every
Yes,
single
there are.
weekend there is,
Every single weekend.
and
So,
we
but I
have
definitely that's definitely on the list that I do want to come out and see it. Is it just the one day, by the way?
one day for right now, but I mean, I feel like that eventually, maybe in the near future, it may have to be a 2-day event because
You
it
might have
really
to.
got big the first time. I was
Yeah.
amazed that it got that big for a first time outing. And if I have to move it to a different location and because of it grows, then it may have to go a 2-day event because and I can't do it on. It's hard to do it on a Friday because it's hard for people to get off. So if
Yes,
I did it, it might be a Saturday and Sunday, to work to get people time to come and see because some people can't even get off on Saturdays. I mean,
that's
um,
true.
but the good thing about K City is there's 9 motels within a half a mile radius of my show.
Yep.
They're all right there off of I-65, and there's a campground within an eighth of a mile of my show, so you could camp and then come over to the show. And then down the road, there's a Yogi Bear campground, and it's probably 2 miles from my show. And then they've got some mountaintop cabins that you can rent that are about a mile from my show. So there's all kind of places to stay if
Oh,
somebody
it
want
is.
to make. Yep, you want to
It's a
stay a
very safe
weekend.
place. A lot of resources, a lot of amenities, so many motels and
Yes,
hotels. I've been going to Kentucky almost every month the last few months, going down and chasing those summer nights cruises. That was fun. And then I was there for the Redneck Rumble as well.
in
But
Tennessee,
yeah, I've
right?
been
Yep,
to Bowling Green for the Tri Five Nationals. But it's a great
yep,
city. They do it so
yep.
well, and they support the car culture. They support the
Yes.
car guys. So
And also we have Mammoth Cave National Park, which is the largest cave system in the world, and it's in Cave City. It's in it. So if you wanted to come on a weekend and enjoy my show, you could come then and bring your family, enjoy the show, and then head out and go to the Mammoth Cave National Park. It's one of the wonders of the world. I mean, it's the only one around that big. It's crazy.
And it's cool at the end of July. It's
Yeah,
cool down there.
it
That's
doesn't
true.
matter how hot it is outside. The cave is always cool. Always.
The caves are always cool. The caves are
Yep.
always cold. But you know
Yep.
what, Todd? Post the information and the flyers. I'll also put it
Yep.
up on my Facebook as well. About a month out from the show, but
Yep.
coming from January, you want to get these flyers out there to as many groups as
Oh yeah.
possible, because people
That's what
start
I did.
looking at their weekends and they
That's what we
start
did.
figuring
Yep.
out what they can do. So get it out there, because the truck world is a big world.
Yep.
Especially the thing that I love about yours is it's not just Ford, it's not just Chevys, it's a truck
Exactly.
gathering.
It's
So I can
truck
go to
gang.
this event and just see Chevys and
You see
Fords, and hopefully I can
international
get them in some
Studebakers.
heated conversations.
You see everything. Yes. That's the reason that I did it, because I have a buddy that loves international trucks. That's all. It's about all he fools with. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what engine and transmission is in them. He likes the body of the international, and he's got about seven, probably 6 or 7. And if he goes to a show, he's one of the only ones there. One of the only ones. And then I got another buddy of mine that has a Studebaker truck that his grandpa drove and his dad drove, and they put it in the field. And when he got old enough to drive, me and him have been friends. We've been friends ever since before the truck got on the road. He pulled it out of the field and put it back on the road, and now it's a 10-second truck in a quarter mile. It'll blow the tires off anywhere you want to go, and he's been working on it ever since we were kids, 17, 18 years old. And I'm 50 this year, and he's like 52. He's still got the same truck, and it's a Studebaker 49 Super. So,
Well, I expect to see him in July
he was there.
2023.
He was at my show this year, and he said, I had countless people, not just because I'm patting myself on the back, but I had countless people come up to me and say, I believe this is the funnest show I've ever been to, because there's no animosity toward Ford, Chevy, Dodge, International, Studebaker, Peterbilt, Freightliner. It don't matter if it's a truck, bring it. That's what we did. But 1998 and older, and I've had some people question me about the years. They said, well, as it goes on 4 or 5 years from now, are you going to move that year to 99 and 2000? I said, but if I do, they start losing the vintage look when they start getting into 99 and
They do.
2000. The 98 and older, they call that on a Chevy, it's OBS. On a Ford, it's OBS. 98 to like into 93, something like that, it's OBS, what they call them. But, I myself like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. That's what I like. That's my favorite. But I like it because you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. You can do whatever you want to do. And some guys build them where you don't even use them anymore, and that's okay too. So,
You're really going to have to shorten this video.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy this chat. Let's wrap it up. But before we do that, you have a garage where people can come to you and get work done,
Yep.
get their truck looking like Blue Seal if they want to. How do
Yep.
they get in touch with you, Todd?
270-834-9155. And we are in Oakland, Kentucky is where the garage is located at. It's right behind our house. So it's a 30 by 50. It'll hold 6 cars, and most of the time I keep it full of 4 or 5. Of always something to do. There's always somebody in there. And
the name of the business is
Johnson's Garage.
Johnson's Garage.
Johnson's Garage. Yep. Same thing on the door of the truck. Yep.
Yep.
And I'm working toward no cars. I want it to be trucks only is what I'm working toward in my shop. You know what I mean? I don't mind working on the cars, but I think I'm going to try to keep it. I'm finally going to get to the point where I can just work on trucks only. Might as well. I mean,
Except when it comes to Michelle and her Mustang. That's
Yep.
where you
Then
have
I'll
to
build her a
One
Mustang
day.
one
One
time.
day.
Yep. She said that's not on the top of the list right now, and I said that's okay. It will be.
We'll get to
you
it.
one. We'll get you one.
You guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I've had such a good time hearing
Yep.
your journey, hearing the story behind ShopTruck Gathering, and looking through Blue Seal and looking at the restoration process. Thank you, Michelle, so much for joining us. I'm so happy and glad that you were able to be home as well for this. So I always love it when the couples are together, and so I could get the wife's perspective on what's been happening. So
Right.
it's been real
Well,
fun.
some people want to leave their wives out, but you can't discount them if they're. I'm not going to say it's like allowing you to do it, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
a woman could put a stop to it if she didn't want you to pursue your dream.
Your
She'll
work is
figure
better, your mind is happier. My biggest support
out
system is
everything.
my husband. And
Yep.
if he's not, like there's areas where he doesn't want me to go, and I respect and I appreciate that. Like he won't let me go, to Memphis or Chicago, anywhere where there is going to be a bit of
Yep.
trouble or crime. So,
There's a chance
like
of
he,
crime.
he, he susses out the places where I go, and, you're going to stay here and this is okay. And this is how you can get there and Uber this and that. So, but if I do that and he's happy, then I'm out there and I'm having a better time. And that translates to your work.
Yep.
You can go out there and do work, but if your spouse is not happy at home, then your work is not going to be that good. I can
That's right.
guarantee that.
And whenever I find a new project and I get ready to go pick it up or a new part, they're not new, but they're new to me. Stuff is, um, she cares enough about me to say, "Can you give me their phone number and their address? And I want to know their Facebook page." So I screenshot it and I screenshot the address and I said, "So just to be curious, I mean, what are you going to do?" And she's like, she said, she's like, "If you don't show up or answer your phone within a few hours, I'll know where to come looking for you, and they better be watching out." She's like, "I'm gonna come find you." So I always send her the
Don't
info.
underestimate a woman,
No,
Todd. Do not
no,
underestimate a
Right.
you're
lady.
right. The power of a woman. Don't underestimate it, because if she put in her mind she was going to find me, she'll
Oh
come and
yeah.
find me. Yeah, it's going to be
Oh
it's going
yeah.
to be on.
We love our spouses. We're not going to
Yep.
let anything happen to them.
Nope. Nope. And
Yeah,
that's the same way with
exactly.
her. If she texted me and told me she was in trouble, Katie barred the door. They better look out, because I'm gonna come find her. That's right.
Oh, I love it, you guys. I know you've had a fabulous day, new grandbaby.
Yes.
So glad you guys still came in today. I would have totally understood if you wanted to reschedule it, but I do appreciate you still coming up and keeping to the appointment. It's been an absolute pleasure,
It
honestly.
has. Thank you very
So
much.
nice to meet you.
Same here, you two. Thank you so much.